Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Stellar Artifacts. My name is Eli. I've done a couple videos in the last week or so. I've done Frankenstein from Sideshow, Frankenstein's Monster from Sideshow, then I've done the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman from Dark Side Collectibles. And I got one more box that I've been having sit around probably since like August or something. This is Queen Studios 1/4 scale Wonder Woman. And I ordered this a long time ago. Like, I waited a really long time, probably since like COVID. And so I finally got it in. Yeah, so let's talk about the strengths of this piece, in my opinion. First off, I would say the paint job is, I think the paint job is really awesome on it. The colors are good. The flesh tone is not too far off either. It looks like a decent flesh tone. So I like the paint on it. The second thing I really like on this piece is the fact that it's a dynamic pose. It's got some action in it. She's in an action pose. I like that. My collection probably has a variation of both museum poses as well as dynamic poses like this, but I like that she's in an action pose. It works well because she doesn't take up too much height. She's kind of leaning to the side. And then the third thing I like about it is I like that it is a really good sculpt. I think whoever, I didn't look up the artist before this video who sculpted it, but I think the sculpt is actually pretty good. The hair is well done on the portrait, and the portrait is well done as well. It reflects Gal Gadot. I don't even know if I'm saying her last name correctly, but the actress who played Wonder Woman in the Zack Snyder movies. There is a second portrait, which I'll show you in the close-ups. Now let me talk really quick about a couple design flaws that I view as a design flaw. There's some weird engineering to this, where it's like the skirt is made of PVC, and so I actually applaud their decision to use PVC because it's not brittle or breakable like polyresin, because the rest of her is like, you know, polyresin or polystone. So that's good because it has some give and it's not going to break. But when you key in her torso, because it's her torso you key in, I don't know about anybody else who has this piece, but she doesn't key in a clean way where her torso just clicks in and sits flush. This garment here made of PVC, you put it in first and then you put her torso over it, and there's no I played for it for a while. There's no conceivable way to have her just cleanly sit down flush into the channel. So there is, if you look at her from the rear and from the left side, there's definitely a seam where her torso is, but you're not viewing her from those angles when you put her on display. So it probably doesn't make a big difference, but it's a little bit frustrating when you pay a lot of money for a collectible and then you feel like the engineering probably could have been a little bit better. But as far as the grand scheme of things, when you're viewing her like this, you're not going to notice it. It's just very odd how it doesn't key in cleanly. The other design flaw, what would I say? She has the other portrait, which is her comic book portrait. It's a good, I also think that her face is good on that. So if you choose to use that one, you'll probably be happy. Those of you, I'm going to keep the Gal Gadot portrait because I think I like that a little better because it matches up with what she's wearing for the DC Snyder movies, Snyder Cut movies. But the other design flaw is, I don't know if it's a design flaw, it's a design choice, but if you don't want her to have the lasso, you can have her with a shield and a sword. And the design on the shield is awesome. Like, I think they did a really good job on the shield. And then the sword also is designed really well. Like, there's really good details on the hilt of the sword and a design going through the center of the sword all the way up the sword. So, but the bad thing about it is, in my opinion, that's like kind of an inferior way to display her if you want to put that piece on, because it blocks her portrait. So as a statue collector, you're, you know, not taking advantage of the portrait, which is part of the fun of it. It's like she's in this position, but you can't see her face. So I don't know, just a bad design choice in my opinion. So I went with the original. I think Queen Studios had chose that as a secondary thing to throw in as an enticement for collectors to buy, but the original concept was based off of an illustration, and the illustration involved the lasso. So the lasso is pretty cool. I like the lasso better. You have to kind of take some patience in displaying her with the lasso. You'll see it down here on this pillar that's tilted. You keys in right here, and I use the photographs on the box to kind of like get the lasso in place to where how it looked in the illustration, and then the photographs for the statue. I think I got about as close as I'm gonna get, and since the lasso is made of wire, it doesn't look extremely clean, but when you back up from it, once you have it, you probably aren't gonna notice the imperfections in it, but I got it about as close as I can, as you see. But yeah, anyway, cool paint, cool sculpt, good action pose, good portraits, which also aligns with the sculpt. But I think now I'll go ahead and cut the video, and I will show you some close-ups of this piece. All right, so on to some close-ups. You'll see she's on, her base is made of these pillars. Kind of looks like Greek sculptures or that sort of thing, just ancient ruins that are toppled. So let me start at the base since I'm discussing it. You have this little gold trim around the very bottom of it. It's a circular base, and you'll see some cracks in the stone. You have this head here. Everything, you know, looks decrepit, and you know, it's been toppled over. This pillar is toppled over, the one she's standing on. You'll see some rocks that look like they're flying, and they have made it look like it's an action pose because there's a rocks like right here. It's not focusing. Hold on. All right, there's focused. You see the rocks glued to her leg there as if they've been stirred up due to the action pose. Boy, it's having a hard time focusing. Anyway. And then you got the Wonder Woman insignia down here on the base. And the paint of the armor looks really good, or shin guards. I noticed when I picked her legs out of the box, or that key down into these pegs here, this leg seemed like it was loose for some reason, like it had a little bit of play in it. So I think that was maybe jointed at the knee where the manufacturer had cut into it or glued something down. I don't know, but be careful because this stuff all breaks so easy. But yeah, I like the paint. Got the other foot, the other shin guard. So this is where the rope, or her lasso, I mean, will key in. You'll see a little hole. I'll try to show you. It just keys right in, and then you just follow it around underneath her leg there, and then around her other leg, and you have to loop it through her hand here. It becomes a little bit frustrating. You gotta be patient when you're trying to establish the lasso effect, but I think it's a lot better than the alternative, which is the, I'll show you that in a second too. But since we're on her upper body, let's look at the this stuff. So we got the this piece is made of PVC, which I think is a good design idea because it's got some give. It's not going to break. It looks good. The rest of her though is the breakable. But yeah, good flesh tone paint, I think. In the portrait, I think it does look like the actress quite a bit. And the hair is done well in my opinion. I think the hair is done well because the hair can kind of make and break a portrait as well, in my opinion. So let me just swivel around. You're here, I'm going to show you the design flaws. Like, I don't know if you guys can see this, but when I get up close, this is like a seam. You're not probably going to see this when you display her, but this is what I'm talking about. This does not key in at all, like in in a flush manner. So from the front though, you just don't see it when it's like this at all, in my opinion. Like, it's hidden well. But yeah, I got the big loop with the lasso, and the lasso is going to be what I choose for the piece for the display. Now let's look at the other torso. So you have this option. Here's another design flaw. This little pedestal, it's a good idea that they gave it to you because it's meant to put the other torso on. And it just doesn't sit right on there. You can see how if you back up from it, she's like leaned back a little bit. I don't know. It just seems like they did this as an afterthought as far as the design goes. But yeah, you'll see the shield. And the shield has good designs on it. It's actually kind of heavy duty too. Like, I don't know what it's made out of, if it's just polyresin like the rest of it, but it's painted well and it looks realistic. And then the sword. Let me come around to the sword. So some pretty good design on the hilt. Looks like two dragons coming together on the blade. And then you see some designs on the blade here. So they're cool, but I still think it's an inferior sort of a me. See if I can. All right, I had to pause it for a second to unkey the piece with the shield, but this is the shield piece that pegs in. And it'll give me a better chance to show you the portrait for this one, which is the comic book portrait. You'll notice she has a different tiara. She has more of the traditional comic book tiara with the red star on it. But yeah, either portrait is good. I like the one with looks a little bit more like the actress playing it. But the bad thing about this is, so let's say you want to display this torso, and now you want to go ahead and use the lasso feature. I think most collectors are probably not going to take the time, because now you're going to have to go through the whole process of establishing like the good lasso shape and mess with the lasso. I think most people are not going to do that. You can't just click it in. You got to play with it, and that kind of sucks, but most people aren't going to do that. So anyway, it's a good idea that they gave you this little pedestal for her, but I just don't see. Let me key this in. I just don't see anybody actually keying this torso in. But anyway, yeah, also this is just designed kind of funky, even though they had good intentions by giving this out. It's got QS for the company, Queen Studios. And that's about it. I'll do my outro. So that ends my close-ups of this piece. Leave a comment, like, subscribe if you like this sort of stuff. Also, I guess I had one more thing to say before I stop the video. Queen Studios made 2,890 of these, which is crazy to me. It's not the only time it's ever been done. Statue companies will mass produce pieces periodically. But that's in my opinion. Yeah, she's still collectible. She's still nice to put on display, but it just, in a collector's mind, it makes it like a little less cool that there's so many of them floating around. In my mind, like less than 1,000 is ideal. XM Studios has always had good edition sizes to where it makes you happy to own a piece. Not just because you should primarily enjoy the piece and like the piece if you buy it, which is what I did with her. I like the piece, but holy moly, 2,890 is a lot. For that reason, I'm trying to reduce boxes, and I decided to just chuck her box because I'm going to keep it. It makes it hard to get rid of statues, and I'm not really in the business of selling statues anyway. I guess if I wanted to, it makes it more difficult to get rid of if you decided you were going to sell a piece and you don't have the box. But yeah, for an edition size that big, I just decided to huck the box, the shipper, as well as the art box, and I'm left with what I got here. So yeah, for some of you collectors who've been doing it a long time, let me know what you guys do with your boxes. Do you keep them? I think most of us try to keep them, especially our favorite pieces. But yeah, when you get into these pieces that are just mass produced and you need space, then you just try to figure out what to do with that. But anyway, Queen Studios 1/4 size Wonder Woman. Yeah, just showing her off, and that's what I got. Thanks for watching the video.